So Catherine Indemar, who is an editor for Sugar House Review now, she asks, Dayna, you're amazing. I'm wondering what you're currently working on.
Thank you, Catherine. I knew I recognized your name. It's because I've seen you on the list of editors for Sugar House Review. That's awesome. I'm currently working on a book manuscript that a couple of folks here have actually just recently read for me. The working title is God the Mother Speaks of Trees, and it's a further exploration of the feminine divine, and the poem that I read this evening, God the Mother Speaks with the Mouth of Ocean, will be in the book. And I hope that it will come out, who knows, in the next year or two. So, and I'm doing a lot of embroidery because I can't stop, apparently.
Yeah, I had a question, and I know you said your grandma hasn't read your book and you don't want her to read your book, which I totally understand. Has the rest of your family read your book, and how do they feel about it?
That's a great question.
I guess your immediate family.
Yeah.
Maybe not all your cousins.
Yeah. I think some of my cousins are here. I think, I know my mom is here. My mom and her wife, Kim, have ordered like 5 copies. And she called me and said that they read it out loud together, like one following along while the other one read, which is the sweetest, most mom thing to do, right? I'm super lucky. But I think to your question, I called my dad, who I don't think is here, and I told him he probably wouldn't want to read it. Well, yeah, he was a Deseret bookstore manager for many, many decades. And I told him I had a book coming out with signature books, and he's like, oh yeah, I know signature books. And I was like, you probably don't want to read it. There might be some things in there that would just make you sad. So mostly what I've heard from family has been really positive, but I have warned a couple people, probably don't read it, and they haven't. They've respected that. But I have had nightmares about my grandma finding out about it. It's got pictures of her ancestors in it. They're her ancestors she's very proud of. They're her pioneer ancestors, you know? And that's something that within Mormonism you're taught to cherish and be really proud of. And it's sort of a status thing if you've got pioneer ancestry that goes back, the farther back the better. And with this particular line of the family, it's like 8 generations. 1852 they converted, you know, and they've got all the stories. But there's I've had terrible nightmares about her finding out about it. But I needed to tell this truth, and I needed it to be available, and the risk, I guess, is worth it.
Great. Our host, Willy, has a question. Such a great reading. I'm very interested in learning more about Mormon conceptions of Heavenly Mother. What literature and art have helped you grow closest to Heavenly Mother?
Oh, there's so much good stuff out there. I started with Carolyn Pearson, Mother of the Morning, and a lot of her poetry. A Motherless House just rocked my world, that poem. Rachel Hunt Steenblick is doing a lot of good work. She has a couple of poetry collections that have sold in the thousands of copies. And she just has these little micro poems, but they're really healing, I feel like, where she would take maybe part of something that would be the statement that young women would get up and read every Sunday at church, and just inserts God the Mother in there in a way that feels really grounding. And her most recent collection has art, these beautiful, you can get beautiful color prints alongside her poems, which are really, really lovely. I'm also fangirling hard over Alicia Ostreicher's work, who she's looking at actually the Shekhinah and Jewish mysticism and the loss of the God the Mother tradition within Jewish history. And her book, The Volcano Sequence, is stunning. I highly recommend it, as well as Tupelo Press released a collection of essays a few years ago, edited by Ilya Kaminsky, a poet. What's it called? I'm blanking on the name of it, but I can send it to you later. A poet. What is it? Does somebody remember what it's called?
Is it God in the House?
Yes, Millie. Thank you. A God in the House. Poets talk about faith. And she has an essay in that collection, God the Mother, which is wonderful. And then if you want to get deep and crunchy with your scripture and what happened to God the Mother and how she, deep and crunchy, that doesn't work. Whatever. The Mother of the Lord by Margaret Barker is an absolute staple. And she looks at how in the reign of King Josiah, the scribes were taking out references to God the Mother and Asherah and removing sacred symbols from the temple, burning the sacred trees, scattering the ashes. I mean, if you want to get into the deep scriptural stuff, Margaret Barker is the place to go.
Cool. You want to read this question from Millie?
Hello.
Hi. Who's talking?
Hi.
Okay, so we have a question from Millie Tullis, who says, you have so many interests in your work. I'm thinking about Mormonism, Shakespeare, and obviously the natural world. Are there other research interests that fuel your writing?
No, I think you covered them, Millie. I'm obsessed with moms, motherhood, daughterhood, and I think that won't ever go away. And Shakespeare and the natural world. Yeah, those are my big ones. And maybe I'm starting to get interested more in embroidery and the history of embroidery, just by default of me being obsessed with that motion. I feel like it's like breathing. The in and out of the needle kind of mimics the in and out of breath, and it just kind of slows down my heart rate and calms my blood pressure. But it also makes me feel connected to generations of people who've been embroidering and inventing this amazing array of different stitches. So I've been teaching myself a couple of different stitches and learning the names of the stitches, and that's kind of a new interest for me that I'm exploring. Thanks for asking. And someday we're gonna meet, someday, Millie. Millie's work is wonderful. I highly recommend it.
Dayna, it's Brenda. I just was wondering if you have any of the embroideries handy to show people, because when we think of embroidery, we think of it on fabric, and you've been doing them on cardstock and creating these beautiful cards.
I should have been ready for that question. If you give me 5 seconds, I can, oh, Brenda's got one.
Yeah, so here's one that Dayna gave me. Isn't it beautiful?
I'll grab one really fast.
Things with colors and textures. And it's on a little card.
Nice.
I should have been ready for that question. Thank you, Brenda. These are actually the cards that we raffled that will be going out today. So this is one of them with silver threads and nice Prussian blue. And this is another one. It's a crimson and gold spiral. And one that is in some autumn colors to match my yard. And then recently I got to hike up to Coleman Glacier. It was the most amazing hike. And we saw the glacier, and I was just thinking about the colors of the glacier and the silver and blues and grays woven in there. And so I tried to picture the glacier onto paper, which was really fun. So those are the cards that are going out for the people who won.
I have one too.
And yes,
You sent me one, Dayna. I have it on my altar. It's so beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I was thinking of Rivermouth Review, and then I know
it's perfect. It should be our new logo for them for the review.
That I would absolutely love
I
that.
love all the shades of blue. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, and then we have a question from Barbara Davis who says, related to goddesses, have you read and related to The Dissident Daughter?
Gosh, that is ringing a bell for me, but no, I don't think I've read that one, but I'm going to write it down right now.
I think you'll enjoy it a lot. It's prose, but it's well worth reading.
I'm not opposed to prose at all. Big fan of prose.
I'm curious to know where you are geographically.
I am in Bellingham, Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, just as we used to live in Texas. We lived in Texas for 6 years. That's where I did my graduate school, and my husband as well. And it was so hot, and we would actually burn our kids on this belt. We would be buying them in. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So I'm like, hey, let's find a job farther north. And we came just about as far north as you can go. We're just 20 minutes from the border of Canada. And it's a gorgeous place. It's the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish people. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place.